An independent team is investigating structural defects at 3 of government's light public housing sites. Nobel Prize for Medicine goes to 3 scientists for showing how the body regulates immune responses. And political crisis deepens in France as new prime minister quits after less than 1 month in office. Good evening and happy Mid-Autumn Festival. You're watching Cable News. I'm Jeremy Chu. An independent investigation is underway after structural defects were found at 3 light public housing project sites. Contractors have been instructed to carry out immediate repairs, with Housing Secretary Winnie Ho expressing confidence this won't undermine public trust in the program. The issues at sites in Siu Lam's Lok On Pai, Tuen Mun's Yanpo Road and Shang On Street in Chai Wan were discovered during proactive inspections by the Architectural Services Department in late August. All 3 projects are jointly built by Able Engineering and Chungwo Development. Detailed inspections revealed structural installations didn't conform to approved designs across all sites. Among 4,000 screws examined, about 240 were found to have been improperly shortened. Additionally, roughly 20% of over 2,000 metal plate connection holes had been enlarged without authorization. Officials stressed that the problems are not with the quality of the prefabricated modules, but rather with the assembly procedures on site. An official investigation report is aimed to be completed within 1 month. Meanwhile, the contractors have been ordered to implement corrective measures, a process expected to take 4 to 5 months. Speaking to the press, Housing Secretary Winnie Ho called the incident utterly serious, given the program's importance to public welfare, and has directed that all work meet the highest safety standards. The fact that these issues were uncovered internally, she added, demonstrated the effectiveness of the government's monitoring process. The government has been actively promoting ecotourism in recent years, but are the residents and visitors truly ready for it? A green group has recently uncovered some visitors' coral destruction behaviors near Sharp Island in Sai Kung during the National Day Golden Week holiday. While authorities said overcrowding on the island is unlikely to have a significant impact on coral reefs, they pledged to step up patrols at ecotourism hotspots. Evelyn Bai reports.
Greenpeace Hong Kong posted on social media that some snorkelers were seen wearing sneakers and trampling on coral, with some even jumping on them. The group also captured moments of tourists collecting coastal creatures, such as starfish and sea urchins, littering and illegally lighting fires to cook on the beach. Greenpeace reported that the number of visitors on Sharp Island hit more than 4,000 on October 1st, quadrupling typical weekend numbers. This morning, despite fewer tourists were spotted at the UNESCO-listed geopark, litter was still an eyesore on the beach, including plastic bottles and beverage packagings. Banners could be seen near the beach, reminding visitors to take their litter with them. Taking to the airwaves, Patrick Lai, Deputy Director of the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department, noted that there's quite a bit of distance between the coral zone and the beach on Sharp Island, which should not significantly impact the coral. Lai pledged to enhance patrols and dispatched staff to conduct an assessment of the coral reefs as soon as possible. Greenpeace project manager Ha Shun-kun criticized the authorities for fixing the problem after it happens, suggesting the government conduct a study on carrying capacity of the island to see if more ecological conservation measures need to be taken. Secretary for Environment and Ecology Tse Chin-wan stated that authorities will increase patrols at tourist hotspots throughout the holiday to combat illegal activities, as well as improve tourist awareness. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
An Indonesian woman died in a car accident in Tai Po this afternoon, while 3 others were injured. The remain of the victim was covered with a tent and white cloth as police investigated the crash site. One of the vehicles involved in the incident suffered considerable front-end damage, while the other light goods vehicle's left side was dented. The tragic incident occurred around 3 p.m. when two cars collided with each other at the roundabout on Po Heon Street, forcing the goods vehicle to crash into the sidewalk. The 34-year-old Indonesian woman was unable to evade the vehicle in time and was trapped between it and a lamppost. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Another 2 women and 1 man were injured, including an 88-year-old pedestrian who fell into a coma. Police arrested the 66-year-old driver of the private car on charges of causing death by dangerous driving. This year's Nobel Prize officially kicked off with the first award for physiology or medicine. 3 scientists from the United States and Japan were awarded for discovering how the body prevents autoimmune diseases. Jamie Liu has the details.
The Nobel Assembly at Karolinska Institutet has today decided to award the 2025 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine jointly to Mary Branco, Fred Ramsdell and Shimon Sakaguchi for their discoveries concerning peripheral immune tolerance.
Branco and Ramsdell are researchers from the U.S., while Sakaguchi is a distinguished professor at Osaka University in Japan. The award-giving body said the laureates' research identified the immune system's security guards, regulatory T cells. These cells ensure that the immune system attacks hostile infections and tolerates its own tissues, hence avoiding autoimmune diseases. Their discovery spurred the development of medical treatments for cancer and autoimmune diseases, with some undergoing clinical trials, and may lead to more successful transplants. The winners will share a prize sum of 11 million Swedish crowns or 9 million Hong Kong dollars. Jamie Liu, Cable News.
French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu resigned hours after unveiling his new cabinet and less than a month after his appointment, deepening the country's political crisis. The far-right National Rally immediately urged President Emmanuel Macron to call a snap parliamentary election. Beslan reports.
Lecornu, a long-serving ally and the 7th Prime Minister of French President Emmanuel Macron, submitted his resignation on Monday, saying the conditions were not fulfilled to allow him to stay in office, denouncing the partisan appetites of factions who he said have forced his resignation. This came only hours after he had named ministers for his prospective government. A lineup comprises many familiar faces from his predecessor's cabinet, as well as Macron's early administration, sparking fierce criticism across the political spectrum. During Lecornu's short tenure, France has seen several protests demanding Lecornu to abandon draft budget measures proposed by his predecessor. The 39-year-old former defense minister was appointed to the post last month. By resigning, Lecornu has set historic pace by breaking several records, 2 of which were held by former Prime Minister Michel Barnier, the shortest-serving Prime Minister, at just 27 days in office versus Barnier's 99 days. Lecornu has also spent the longest time without a government, which was 26 days versus Barnier's 16 days. Beslan, Cable News.
On the eve of the 2nd anniversary of the Hamas attack that sparked the Gaza conflict, delegations from Hamas and Israel, together with the mediators, are slated to start indirect talks in Egypt on the Gaza peace plan proposed by United States President Donald Trump, who urged mediators to move fast to end the war. Jamie Liu reports.
In Jerusalem, dozens of protesters rallied for the return of hostages held in Gaza, intensifying pressure on Israel and the U.S. to finalize a ceasefire deal. In a social media post, Trump said the first phase of negotiations should be completed this week and urged all parties involved to move fast. Speaking at the White House, the president continued an optimistic tone on the release of hostages.
When do you think the hostages will start being freed? I think very soon.
However, reports suggested hidden tensions behind the scenes. According to Israeli media, Hamas may demand Israel to release some of their top leaders jailed for life over deadly terror attacks, even at the cost of dooming the deal. The militant group also reportedly wants guarantees that Israeli forces fully withdraw from Gaza with a timetable and that the initial pullout be larger than what Trump proposed. Meanwhile, despite Washington's call on Israel to stop bombing Gaza, reports said the assaults continued and killed dozens in the enclave. Reiterating that call, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said conditions need to be created for a hostage prisoner swap.
You can't have bombs going off and fighting going on in the middle of this exchange. So that's piece one. The second, and we want to see that happen as soon as possible. All 48 hostages, both living and deceased, and there's some need to be released, and there's some logistical challenges to that we'll have to work through.
Rubio cautioned that the Israel-Hamas war is not yet over and described the next phase in Gaza's future as even harder to secure. Jamie Liu, Cable News.
At least 5 civilians have been killed in a new wave of missile and drone attacks launched by Russia against Ukraine. In the western city of Lviv, several residential buildings were struck. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that from Saturday night into Sunday morning, Russian forces targeted 9 regions across Ukraine. The assault involved 50 ballistic missiles and 500 drones, causing numerous casualties and leaving tens of thousands of people without power. Meanwhile, Russia claimed the large-scale airstrike successfully destroyed multiple Ukrainian military and infrastructure targets. President Vladimir Putin warned that if the United States were to supply Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine for the purpose of launching long-range attacks on Russia, it would lead to a complete breakdown in relations between Moscow and Washington. Let's take a look at the stock market. The Hang Seng Index ended the day down 183 points. Top active stocks of the day: Alibaba was down $4.60. Tencent was up $4. Meituan was down 50 cents. And Xiaomi was down $1.15. Foreign exchange against the Hong Kong dollar: Euro 9.08, the Japanese yen 51.76. Business environment for the city's private sector posted further improvement in September, but the pace moderated as new orders from both mainland and global markets declined fractionally. Evelyn Bai reports.
The S&P Global's Purchasing Managers Index for Hong Kong fell to 50.4 last month, down from 50.7 in August. It was the gauge's second consecutive month above the 50-point mark that separates expansion from contraction. The compiler of the PMI noted that new orders declined at a modest pace, with the rate of contraction in September remaining constant from the month before. Affected by the heaping U.S. tariffs, survey respondents reported a severe decrease in new orders from both mainland and international markets, with the latest drop in new export orders being the most significant since March 2022. In light of higher material and staff costs, overall cost burdens increased at the steepest rate in nearly 2 years. Looking ahead, the PMI survey provider pointed out that while the improvement in the city's economy has reduced pessimism surrounding the market, factors such as U.S. trade policy and global economic conditions continue to dampen optimism. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
Onto the weather now. Cloudy periods in the morning and at night. Temperatures will range between 27 and 33 degrees. Mainly fine and very hot during the day. Isolated showers in the afternoon. Light to moderate easterly winds. That's our news tonight. I'm Jeremy Zhu. Thanks for watching and good night.